on va commencer avec l'approbation de l'ordre du jour. Et là, je dois vous dire, après avoir préparé et presque après avoir envoyé les documents pour la réunion, une résolution proposée par M. Hickey, mais c'était trop tard pour l'inclure à l'ordre du jour. Alors, ce que je propose maintenant, c'est qu'on va demander à M. Hickey s'il voudrait proposer de modifier l'ordre du jour pour ajouter sa résolution pour aujourd'hui. On va déterminer l'avis du Sénat là-dessus. Est-ce que ça vous plaît, M. Hickey?
Yes, I would like to propose that we add that item to the agenda for today.
Alors, vous proposez de modifier l'ordre du jour pour ajouter, et votre résolution, c'est déjà circulé informellement.
That's right. I could read that motion for the Senate, if the Senate wishes. Shall I read it out?
Sorry, you're proposing, I don't think you need to read the motion. You're proposing to amend the agenda to add an item, and it has to do with...
That's right, freedom of expression and following the Ann Coulter affair.
All right. So,
And I believe that,
is there a motion,
that's
is there a seconder for the motion to amend the agenda? Thank you. Alors, discussion. Do you want to explain why you want to amend the ordre du jour pour ajouter ce sujet, M. Hickey?
Yes. As I explained in the email, it was an issue of great concern to the reputation of the university. The events that unfolded surrounding the cancellation of the speech of Ann Coulter last year, and a commitment was made at the Senate to initiate a broad university-wide discussion and discourse on the topic of freedom of expression and what our shared expectations on freedom of expression are. And it seems to me that no action has occurred on this commitment in the previous 8 months. And so my motion is that we initiate that discussion and we set aside the time required to follow through with the commitment that we come up with a shared understanding of what it means to have freedom of expression on this campus, what the central administration's role is in administering our expectations of freedom of expression.
All right, I'll invite others if they want to comment or participate in the discussion before we vote on your motion. But just as a matter of fact, let me add two things. First of all, you used the word commitment. Because I had notice of your intention to raise this, I reviewed the text of what was said at the Senate. There was no commitment. There was a proposal to Senate, a suggestion as to how Senate may wish to proceed. There was no commitment. The second thing I want to remind members of Senate is that the month after I made that suggestion, Senate unanimously adopted a resolution with respect to freedom of expression that it had received, moved by a student senator. That was done last May, and I believe a copy of that has been circulated. Are there those who wish to speak on this motion? That is the motion to amend the agenda to add the subject of freedom of expression.
At this
Mona?
I guess I'm just a little bit confused here. What exactly is it that we would do on, when we reach that item? We would discuss a process, we would discuss, I'm a little bit uncertain what we would be doing. It might have been more useful if we had a sort of chronology of events and things that have happened in the past and outstanding items that need to be discussed. It would facilitate the discussion, perhaps.
Well, perhaps Mr. Hickey, I'll call upon him at the end so he can respond to your question. Any other interventions on this subject? Oui, madame.
Just a question. So last year, a motion was passed on freedom of expression. Is that correct?
Yes, what happened is...
a month after the proposal to have a commitment.
What happened is I spoke in the Senate and suggested to the Senate that it should engage in a discussion and we should work toward a shared statement of shared values on the whole subject of freedom of expression. The next thing that happened is we received a motion moved by a student senator, which was put on the floor the following month, and that was adopted unanimously.
Do we have any history of what the motion was exactly?
Oh, yes.
And what it actually committed the Senate to doing, if anything?
Yep.
Sorry, I don't.
Yeah, we do. But rather than get into the, we're not now discussing or debating the merits. We're talking about amending the agenda. And I'd like to confine our discussion to that so we can move on. We do have an agenda of academic items to deal with as well. Any other discussion on the motion before I call Mr. Hickey to wrap up the discussion? No other interventions? Mr. Hickey, you want to close out this discussion?
I have a more pressing concern today. And I had indicated in my email of last Friday that I was prepared to submit this motion to the next meeting of the Senate, be it the March 7th meeting. And so I bring that point up to inform as well members of the community or the media who may have attended to observe this discussion today on the freedom of expression issue. But the more urgent concern is that this morning the university sent out a press release that describes a structured academic undertaking that has not been approved by the Senate. I'm very concerned about this
Sorry,
matter.
are we now on your motion, or are you going to a different subject?
Yes, this more.
So have you gone to a different subject? Because if you have, I want to confine ourselves for the moment to your motion.
Right.
It's been moved, seconded, and discussed. I think we can move now to a vote. If you have another matter to raise,
Right.
you can come to that under other business. Yes, have you concluded your remarks with respect to your motion to amend l'ordre du jour, Mr. Hickey?
With regard to the freedom of expression motion,
Yes.
I would like to make the last comment that when a proposal is accepted by consensus at the Senate, and we've had a definition of what consensus means in the last few months during the debate over procedural rules. When a consensus is made, that means that it is an item that either must be carried out by Senate, should be dropped by Senate, or there is basically we will have failed to uphold our consensus decision-making structure. And so our consensus was made to accept the proposal of the President at the April meeting. And therefore, I believe that we should follow up on it, and we should have these discussions as much time as needed at the subsequent meetings.
Thank you. Does that conclude your submissions on your motion to amend the ordre du jour?
Yes.
All right, then I'm going to call a vote on that. All those in favor of amending the agenda to add the subject of freedom of expression, would you please raise your hands? All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion is lost. Thank you, Mr. Hickey.
Okay.
I'm going to go now to the minutes of the meeting
Before we
in January.
approve the agenda, Mr. Chairman,
I'm sorry?
Before we approve the agenda, I have an urgent concern that I mentioned, which is that this morning, this is now a new comment here. This morning, the university sent out a press release that describes
before you read a speech, are you going to bring a motion to amend the
Yes, I will bring a
agenda?
motion to amend the agenda.
To add what?
To add a new item, and I'll just explain.
Tell
that.
us what it is.
Yes, I will proceed now. This morning, the university sent out a press release that describes a structured academic undertaking that has not been approved by the Senate. I'm very concerned that the authority of the Senate is being subverted on this issue. The Senate must freeze the application process for this program. I believe that the public has been misinformed and misled by this press release, and it should be corrected immediately and today. I'm informed by the Faculty of Law that the application deadline is March 1st for this program, and that would be before the next Senate meeting. And so I believe that we should be acting immediately on this. I don't understand how this could have happened, and it should be of great concern to us all. The authority of the Senate should be reaffirmed here. And I move that we freeze the application immediately, and that the false information to the public be corrected today. So I would like to add that item to the agenda.
Before we get ahead of ourselves, you're moving to amend the agenda to add, what should we call it? What program is this?
This is the program. It's a joint master's program in law between the University of Ottawa and a university abroad. It has been announced today on the university website.
And
Which program?
what program?
It's a master's in law, and it's a joint. I have the press release here. I'll just read it. The University of Haifa new joint master's in laws program.
All right. Do you have a seconder for that motion?
A motion to add to the agenda so that we can discuss this program.
Are you seconding that motion?
Yeah.
So this is a motion to add to the agenda the subject of the newly created Masters in Law, the Joint Masters in Law program with Haifa University.
Right. The motion would.
You don't have to get into what relief you seek, just tell us the subject matter. I think we have that.
Right. The motion would be to freeze applications immediately and correct the information regarding this program.
Okay. Any discussion of that motion? Okay, I'm going to call the vote. All those in favor of amending the agenda to add the subject of the joint Masters in Law program with Haifa University? Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, thank you. That motion is not successful. I'm going to go to the minutes of the meeting of January 10th and ask, je vais solliciter maintenant des commentaires, des corrections concernant le procès-verbal de notre réunion du 10 janvier passé. Est-ce qu'il y a des commentaires? Sinon, est-ce que quelqu'un est en mesure de proposer l'adoption? André, merci. Seconded by. Merci. All in favor? Any opposed? Those minutes are adopted. Business arising from the minutes, seeing none, I'll turn to item 4, Executive Committee of the Senate, appointment of a member. Il s'est proposé que David Girard soit nommé membre du comité exécutif du Sénat avec l'approbation du Sénat. Is that all right? Mm-hmm. All right, we don't need a vote because it's the one person to fill the one position. On item 5, there's a Chancellor's Selection Committee and requires the appointment of 4 Senate members. Encore, on a 4 membres à proposer, c'est-à-dire Viva Dadwal, Valver Dillon, Anthony Lefkowitz, and Gabby Saint-Pierre. So with your permission, we'll proceed on that basis. We come to item 6, and it involves la faculté d'éducation, abolition du baccalauréat en éducation, perfectionnement professionnel. Est-ce que le doyen est ici aujourd'hui?
Ça va être Joanne.
Ah, Joanne, très bien.
Alors, c'est un programme qui n'est plus reconnu par l'Ordre des enseignants pour mener à la carte de compétences, donc le permis d'enseignement. L'abolition du programme aurait dû faire l'objet d'une demande antérieure au moment où on a aboli les crédits qui étaient liés au cours de développement professionnel. Donc, le programme ne peut plus conduire à une certification officielle, alors il n'est plus valide.
Okay, très bien. Alors, vous proposez l'abolition. Seconded by? Marie-Josée, merci. Discussion? Okay, I'll put the vote. All in favor of abolishing. Any opposed? Abstentions? One abstention. Thank you. On va maintenant procéder à l'item numéro 7, c'est-à-dire traduction simultanée des réunions du Sénat, résolution déposée par une membre étudiant et résultat de la recherche menée par le cabinet de la vice-rectrice à la gouvernance, Mr. Hickey.
Yes, Mr. Stojanovic has asked me to request that the Senate vote on the motion today.
Sorry, who's Mr. Stojanovic?
Mr. Stojanovic submitted this motion, requested me to bring it forward to the Senate. This was at the last meeting, as I explained. And so it's...
Sorry, you're acting on behalf... Is this a student you're talking about?
That's right. So I'm bringing the motion forward, as I did at the last meeting in the other business section. So I would like to comment on the research that has been done by the Vice President of Governance's office.
First of all, may I ask you to put a motion before the Senate?
Yes, should I read the motion? It's written here in the text of the agenda. I read it at the last meeting. I can read it again.
Where is it?
It's on the email that precedes the memo from the Vice President of Governance.
Ah, yes.
So, shall I read the text of the motion?
Just to make sure all members of the Senate have it, it's contained in the email dated January 8th, 2011, which is under tab 7 of the materials. Please mind. Go ahead.
Well, the text of the motion reads, during the meetings of the Senate, the University of Ottawa provides professional spoken English and French translations of the proceedings to all members. Each member is provided with up to 2 electronic earpieces which broadcast the proceedings in English and French. One earpiece broadcasts the translation into French, what is spoken in English during the proceedings. The other earpiece broadcasts the translation into English, what is spoken in French during the proceedings.
Thank you. Have you a seconder for that? Does anybody second that motion? Well, then your motion fails for want of a seconder, Mr. Hickey. All right, let's go on to the next item, which is 8, journée d'études avant les examens. François?
J'imagine que c'était Eric, mais je sais pas. Ah, Eric, il demandait à Eric parce que c'est lui qui a fait le travail. Eric, merci.
Eric?
Oui. Au Sénat, au mois de décembre, on a approuvé le calendrier universitaire pour l'année 2011-2012. À ce moment-là, je vous avais mentionné que sur une demande CEPC, il y avait la considération de l'ajout d'une journée d'études entre la fin de la session d'automne et le début de la période des examens, la fin des cours et le début des examens, ainsi qu'à la fin des cours à l'hiver et le début des examens à l'hiver. La gestion des effectifs scolaires a proposé au CEPC 3 différentes options. L'option qui a été retenue au CEPC et à l'exécutif du Sénat a été d'introduire une journée d'études à certaines années. Donc, lors des sessions d'automne, on va maintenir la session à 60 jours, la période d'examen à 14 jours. Mais lorsque la session nous permet d'ajouter une journée d'études entre les deux, et en ne terminant jamais après le 22 décembre, nous allons ajouter une journée d'études. Ce qui veut dire que pour les sessions d'automne, nous aurons une journée d'études à toutes les années, à l'exception de 2015. Pour la session d'hiver, nous allons également maintenir les mêmes principes et également tenir compte du congé de Pâques qui peut agir comme période d'études à certaines années. Ce qui veut dire que nous allons ajouter une journée d'études aux sessions d'hiver 2013, 2015, 2016 et 2018. Alors, l'impact sur le calendrier qui a été approuvé en décembre pour l'année 2011-2012 est qu'à l'automne, la fin des cours va se tenir le 7 décembre, puis le statu quo par rapport à ce qui est approuvé. Nous allons introduire une journée d'études le 8 décembre, ce qui est nouveau, et nous allons avoir les examens du 9 au 22 décembre, qui représentent un décalage d'une journée. Pour la session d'hiver 2012, il n'y a aucun changement à cause de la date du congé de Pâques. Alors, c'est des différences qui ont été approuvées par l'exécutif du Sénat plus récemment.
Merci, Eric. J'ai constaté que nous sommes le seul à l'Ontario d'avoir une semaine de relâche durant l'automne.
Il y a Laurentienne qui a introduit tout récemment une semaine d'études. Il y a quelques universités qui sont en considération. J'ai beaucoup d'appels de mes collègues. Mais oui, nous étions la première à lancer la semaine d'études à l'automne, c'est dans la demande des étudiants, la première université.
Je vous félicite, et François également, et toute l'équipe d'avoir accompli quelque chose d'assez complexe. On peut voir avec les détails que vous avez fournis avec cet rapport que c'est pas simple. Alors, je vous félicite et remercie. Je pense que la semaine de relâche est bien appréciée par la communauté universitaire. Alors, ça c'est pour l'information et je vous remercie pour ça. L'item suivant, c'est décision du comité exécutif du Sénat, réunion du 13 décembre 2010. Are there any comments about the minutes, the decisions of the executive committee? Sinon, on peut passer aux autres questions. Other business before the Senate today? If not, I thank you and during the... I beg your pardon?
Are we on the other business section?
Yep.
I would like to put forward the proposal that we discuss this new program that's been announced. I believe this is an emergency. The program has not been approved by the Senate, and it's going to commence. In fact, the application process will finish before our next meeting. And so I think this is something that we need to address.
I think this has already been dealt with. I have the sense of the Senate. We probed the Senate on this earlier in the meeting. I asked whether they wanted to amend the agenda to add this so we could discuss it, and the vote was against it, Mr. Hickey.
But I would, now that we're in the other business section, I'm just curious if any senators would care to comment on this concern.
I don't see any.
Yeah, I can comment on this. A few years ago, we created a structure for dual programs at the University of Ottawa, where a student has advanced standing in from a foreign university and gets 2 degrees. So this is just advanced standing. It was voted several years ago. We already have a program with the American University, with 3 French universities, and with the Israeli University. This was negotiated back in 2008, and as far as I can see, it was launched only this year.
This has been advertised as a new program on the press release this morning. And could you confirm when it was approved at the Senate?
I don't know. I'm not sure it was approved at the Senate because it's not a program. It's advanced standing agreement between 2 universities that are autonomous, a foreign university and the University of Ottawa. We recognize credits done at the foreign university if they recognize credits done at our university. So if the student does a certain number of credits at both universities, the student can apply for both degrees. So it's an agreement between the 2 universities.
Right. So now that you've said that it's not a program, I think that there is it's rather disturbing that the press release has announced it as a new program and refers to this structured academic undertaking as a program several times in the press release. I think this is misinformation, and it's also possibly subversion of the Senate's authority. I think then I would motion that we correct the press release if it's not a program.
I've already said that the Senate has decided not to add this to its agenda. Most of us have no idea what you're talking about. We have only the report that comes from Gary Slater. And what I suggest you do, Mr. Hickey, is I'm going to adjourn the meeting because we've completed the business for which we came here today. And if in advance of the next Senate meeting you're able to put together something that's appropriate for the Senate to consider, that raises a real issue pertinent to the Senate's responsibilities, perhaps you might express that and it'll be circulated, and if it arrives in time it'll be put on the agenda and Senate can consider it in light of all the facts. Because right now what we're doing is trying to figure out what you're talking about.
Right. Before we adjourn, I have to make the comment that the creation of a new academic program or undertaking of any sort is certainly pertinent to the Senate's mandate under law, and any new such structured academic undertakings must be approved by the Senate before they can be implemented.
Well, perhaps you can make that point if you do wish to put something on the next Senate's agenda which relates properly to the Senate's jurisdiction. Perhaps you can articulate that, and if there's a question for the Senate to consider, it can be put before the next Senate meeting. Thank you very much. I'm going to adjourn the meeting.